Week update. Told you I had a special guest, Will Wheeler with Senator Esslinger's office, former Senator Blunt's staff. Very glad to have you, sir. Cheers.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
Mm. So, kind of a half week. As far as Missouri politics goes, you would think it would be a slow week, but not exactly right.
Absolutely
Talk
not.
about the big news of the day. Kayla Hahn moves over to the PSC. Good choice. I always think, PSC is not a job to have as your first government job necessarily. And the reason I always say that is you want somebody that's not the first line of their resume. Because usually the worst PSC committee is one of the bunch that do a bunch of stuff. The fact is, most of the time, you want to move those utilities slowly, very much like a show me state Midwesterner, to try things, to crush them, but you want to keep their balance sheet good. And it's people that want to do stuff that usually have stupid ideas. It's always think it's funny. People get into government, and the first thing they think is, I've got the idea that we need to do this whole time. Oh, well, of course. 50 years of governance. Now you've come along. Congratulations. I think Kayla will run a cool engine, be good. But her replacement, Kelly Jones, the former communications person.
No one more deserving. If anyone in the press corps or just if you've interacted with the governor's office, you know what a hard worker and how dedicated Kelly Jones is. She's been absolutely great for the governor. She's been great for the state as a whole. And her moving up into that role, I can't see a better fit for the governor's office.
Her and Aaron Willard have the two. They have the quality. I've been a staff guy. You've been a staff guy. There's a quality that people have that I think makes the best staff person. And the truth is, you can't have it for everybody. You work for two of the finest people that I personally ran across in politics. But if you're, which I doubt you're a career staff person, but if you're a staff person for 10 years, they'll be the person you work for. You can't really say this about, because it's one of those, if you're friends with everybody, you really ain't friends with nobody, right? Well, I guess in this situation, her and Aaron are like a Secret Service agent. If somebody takes a shot at the governor, they don't blink. They jump right in. And look, you're going to argue and all that. It's frankly their job for you to not like them and like the governor. That's the dirty secret about staff work, right? The no should come from Will. The yes should come from the Senator Esslinger, right? I mean, that's.
Well, and that's exactly right. If you don't work in this building, if you don't work in Jefferson City, you're never going to know Kelly Jones's name. You're never going to know Aaron Willard's name. But the impact that those two people have had on the state of Missouri, and this increased role that Kelly's going to have, she's just going to continue to help the governor's office move this state forward. And that's what you want in a staff person. It's a type of public servant that isn't running for office. Someone that dedicates their life to the state of Missouri, will never see their name in the headlines, but does all the hard work to continue to move this state.
And I just think, though, there's this thing. And when your boss gets attacked in politics, you're going to defend him, right? You're not professional, not to.
Absolutely.
But there's a difference between somebody defending him and somebody that just boom. It's like I watched Willard jump in front of things that I know damn good and well is a Mike Parson thing. But Aaron will let you think that Mike Parson loves you and wants to do it, but he somehow foiled your plots. And it is the difference between us. And I don't care who you are. You cannot feel that way about everybody. But there is the one thing about Aaron Willard. You can argue with the Parson administration decisions. You can argue with Aaron's decisions about how he runs things. Those are all things you could debate, like reasonable people could argue about.
Right.
The one thing you cannot debate about him or Kelly is if there's a problem coming to the governor, they without hesitation, without there is no stop from them jumping in front of it. And if they can, they'll convince you it's them. If not, they'll try. They take care of Governor Parson. And to me, man, when you really start thinking about what is a great staff person, man, that to me is what it is. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
I think there's a different level those two have, and I really think you can't feel that way about there's no way you could have. I've watched Aaron Willard, and he's worked for different people, and good reputation. You don't get the job he has without doing well in other things. But I've watched you. There's no hesitation. And that is a unique thing that you really can't teach that. You can't learn that. You either feel that way about, you feel that loyalty, or you don't. When I worked at staff work, I worked with people that I could have gave a damn for. I worked with some people that I was like, this is the person, right? This whatever, you're not getting to that person that's going through me.
No,
right?
absolutely.
So congratulations to her. I thought she did a good job. It's so interesting. The first person that came through there was Steele. And Steele was a comms person, and I think I watched Steele go from feeling it out a little bit to being good, because the honeymoon that Parson came in with because of who he wasn't, I think there was a little bit of belief that there would be some fair treatment or whatever, and then they were reminded quickly they were Republicans, and that's not going to be the way that is. And it's also, not their best job to be fair, but
Absolutely not.
just you could just tell the glowing tributes about the humble, common Missourian coming to serve, almost like Truman, and then the psycho sex predator that was there before. But I think there was a little bit of, okay, maybe we're this out. This how it works. Well, it worked until they remember they were pro-life, pro-gun, and then that was that. And I watched Steele go from accepting premises to not. And I watched Kelly's a more traditional background. It took Kelly a second to figure out that these people are trying to be fair. The fair and balanced is a funny slogan on Fox. It's not real. And it's not real to pose, not real to star. Those folks have an ideological bend, and it's not for whatever things Mike Parson believes in. And I watched her become very good. And now I think she masterminded. Steele would argue and push back, and she will too. But I think there's an element that I think Kelly Jones picked up about not swinging at pitches. And I watched over time. And maybe this is something that maybe, I don't read every story by Mike Parson. And I don't read every story that Kelly's quoted in or not, whatever. But I think the special thing she picked up on was, the Post Star now. I mean, the Democrats have their own outlet now to shoot at Republicans and the Independent. I mean, I think she picked up to not swing at those pitches, and that was something Republicans never had the guts to do before. Is I watched the pitches she swings at. It's not so much the ones she does; it's the ones that she doesn't.
Well, I think the important thing to remember is Governor Parson. He's going to be our governor for the next year and a half. He's going to finish out his term with grace, with dignity, and continue to move the state forward and to push the policies that he believes is going to move Missouri forward. But after that, he's got to be thinking about what my legacy is going to be. What am I going to leave behind for this state? I think you want someone like a Kelly Jones that will know exactly how every move you're going to make over the next year and a half is going to play out with the press, and how you can actually care about your legacy and make sure you leave a lasting impact. That gets out to the masses, that people know that this is, my way of going out, and this is what I want my legacy to be and to be remembered as. I think Kelly's going to help him carry out that mission.
So now that we've said some nice stuff about the governor, I guess we better flip it. Where's our governor Parson stuff? We're cover the eyes on that. So here's the thing: the governor did some vetoes. Here's the funny part about it. So I'll give you my scoop, and don't watch Will's face. If he needs to pull his hat down and poker face this, we don't want to ever get somebody sideways.
I'll just cover it up with the stein.
There you go.
We'll just hide it right here.
Whenever stuff you don't want to like give a reaction, you just take your big pull off that stein. So the budget gets put together, historically large budget, of course, as everybody knows. It's something that folks like to say, but in reality, the federal government basically took money from wealthy Americans in China, borrowed it from China, and dumped it to the states. And if you didn't spend the money, they were just going to take it back, right?
Absolutely. And you know what? If we send that money back to Washington, D.C., President Biden's going to spend it. He's going to send it to Illinois. He's going to send it to California.
It's going to be the one in Montauk County. It's going to be the one the crappy one that Caitlin lives in, unfortunately. So, spending that money, I don't see any argument for not spending it. It doesn't. They're not going to send the money back to China and pay it off. They're going to spend it. So, there's an argument. Oh, the budget's too big, right? Which fine. That's a reasonable thing to debate. But then the folks arguing the budget was too big wanted things for their district in the budget. And I get it. It's tough, right? It's a lot of bullshit in politics. I get it. No one has more tolerance for it than I do. But the fact is, the bullshit quotient was high on that, right? So the last day, Senator Eigel, who had commented that the budget might be too big, goes in and basically threatens to hold up the budget unless he gets some stuff for his district, right? Okay, fine. The way the process works, he ended up getting it. That's the way it goes. Well, the governor then vetoes it. But here's the trick of the stroke. So Senator Eigel wanted some things for his district. So did Senator Shore. Senator Shore did not. I mean, he went through the process. I would say that the traditional way Senator Shore went about the things he wanted.
Absolutely.
Senator Eigel kind of came in complaining about the size of the budget and then said, but make it a little bigger for my stuff. You could debate whether that's good, bad, whatever. If you're from St. Charles, you probably just don't care. You want your stuff.
When you're 1 of 34, you can kind of pull that move.
Yep. And he did, and it was successful to get the budget done. But on the floor, he voted against. I mean, the 19 and 20 is where the St. Charles County stuff is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Senator Shore voted. I believe Senator Shore voted yes on 19 and no on 20. Senator Igle voted no on both of them. So I actually am going to try to find Nick tomorrow because and it's, I don't know if it's the thing you ask on camera, right? But the thing I want to know is, okay, and this is where Nick Shore, people say, well, Nick's got a crazy Twitter account. Da, da, da. Nick's a very intelligent guy, and the chief of staff's got a great chief of staff, and Jamie Murphy. The fact is, Nick's a smart dude, and Nick gets it. And I wonder if he's thought of it this way. Okay, so you voted no. And so the governor essentially upheld your vote. He's on your side. You persuaded the governor to not fund these things,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if you're Senator Igle, well, you were no on both bills. The governor said, I agree. Let's get rid of some of this stuff. Now, in over a beer with Nick Shore, his response to that, I think, one, it would laugh, then it would be thoughtful. And I'm interested to hear what that is. I seen him go to town on Twitter, but at the end of the day, the governor's essentially just agreeing with him.
Absolutely. Well, and it's not just Senator Igle or Senator Shore. And a lot of credit to Senator Shore for someone who doesn't sit on appropriations to go about it the right way, to approach your either appropriations chair, appropriations member, the budget chair in the House, Representative Cody Smith, and fight for his projects. You got to give all the credit in the world to, as someone who got kind of labeled as a firebrand for being too feisty, for being senatorial, for doing everything the right day and fighting for it. But then you were also leaving out one senator, and Senator Fitzwater, who represents the most western part of St. Charles County.
But does
he? He fights for Wentzville just as hard as Senator Shore fights for St. Charles County.
It's got to be a tough fight to get up for.
Yeah, well, he gets up for it.
Boulevard, but the hell, Travis Fitzwater's got a lot of self-motivation, I guess, to put it that way.
Yeah.
But the fact is, look, I don't. The folks in St. Charles County have a lot of feelings about government, and they like to express them. And I did a radio show with Brandon Rathert, and I said, so what you're telling me, Brandon, is people in the suburbs were angry about the budget being too big. And then the governor helped them out and made it smaller. And you're telling me suburban people are still whining? I'm shocked. Knocked me down with a feather. It's almost like I've been predicting this for years now. So you mean you have a bigger budget and they're not happy? And then Kelton, hypothetically, what if you had a smaller budget? What would happen?
They'd probably whine a little bit.
So I go back to Mike Parson agreed with St. Charles. Let's make this budget smaller.
Mm-hmm.
There's a price to be paid for certain things. Like we said, Senator Igle's tactic, aggressive and effective. But there's a price, right? And he got to do that because he didn't want to go on the floor. He didn't want to go through the process and say, give me a pork barrel in my district, which I respect that. He wanted to give pork barrel real quietly at the end. And fine. And you want to say the budget's too big, and then I get it, man. I get all that stuff. That's the way life goes. But I also think the governor's got a point when he's like, well, I agree with you. You've convinced me, buddy. It's like this old time Victor Callahan and Chris Koster on the floor, and they're filibustering a bill. And Koster's explained to Victor why it was great, and Victor was saying, no, it's terrible. And they did this thing after an hour. And it was Senator Charlie Shields was in the dais, and he was sitting listening to this. And, Victor and Koster are very entertaining people. If you're going to listen to two people filibuster.
Well, better people.
Yeah, I mean, they're good. And they're having fun with it, and everybody kind of knows. So everybody's kind of listening because they're good. And finally, Koster takes his coat and buttons it. And he goes, well, Senator, old chap, you've convinced me. I agree with you now. And then Victor goes, oh, no, Senator, you just convinced me. And they were going to do another hour arguing the opposite side. And you could just see Senator Shields start sink into his chair like, oh, crap. Ultimately, I think the bill passed. They were trying to kill it. But it was a funny thing to watch, too. You're good when you can hold the room with somebody else for an hour and people actually listen. It's funny and it's engaging and it's on topic. And then you could do the hour the opposite way. That is a person that knows how to do a floor debate. So anyhow, I thought it was interesting. I thought the governor's veto is probably a little tongue in cheek, but I mean, again, if state government's so damn bad, well, get it out of your hair.
Cutting $500 million out of the budget. I think people are going to remember that Governor Parson's a fiscal conservative, and what better badge of honor than cutting $500 million out of the budget?
Well, let's talk about some of the vetoes that were just crap, awful line item vetoes. I have a high regard for the governor, but by God, 63. need to be fixed. I mean, geez.
To this day, Highway 63 continues to remain the most dangerous highway in the state of Missouri. Now, north of Jefferson City, they've done a fantastic job to get it 4-lane. Unfortunately, there was a tragic accident south of Ashland on Highway 63 today, proving once again Highway 63 continues to be a dangerous highway without these safety improvements.
That's Stephanie Bell probably driving dangerous.
We'll see what
Ashland.
happens there. But
That's Kelton's older one.
But Highway 63 south of Jefferson City, when you drive through those small towns and you're changing speed so frequently, you pose a danger to your fellow drivers, but also the surrounding communities as well.
The governor was just wrong. He should have kept the money there. If you get a chance to spend money in Texas County, you spend money in Texas County, right?
Exactly. If you're going to support environmental studies for I-44, which I'm absolutely enthusiastic about, let's 6-lane it from St. Louis down to Joplin. But let's also support the southern half of the states.
By the time you get to the end of 44, though, you're in Joplin. That's where he's going to take a drink of his time.
You're not wrong.
That's the way I read the map. Okay, but so then there was another veto. Had a chance to invest in the ag experimental farms. Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't know Eric Grimes was still governor here. I mean, it's not like this is like a subsidy for a KY plant or something. I mean, this is like, it's not a ball gag factory. It was like legitimate things for agriculture. I don't know. That one, those two are the ones that stuck out to me. It's like, okay, well, I understand taking the suburban people stuff. They're going to be mad anyway, right? But I doubt he has a phone call from Cinder Esslinger if, he were to leave that in.
Well, and let's give a little bit of credit to the governor. If the governor didn't think the project was worthy, he didn't care whether you voted for the bill or not. He just cut it out. Didn't matter if you're from St. Charles. Doesn't matter if you're the president pro tem.
You probably should.
You probably should, but that's his prerogative. Springfield, lost just as much as money as St. Charles County did. And I think Senator House probably going to have some comments about that. Just a little bit more.
So let me ask you this. Here's the thing I've always felt like. I think very highly of Governor Parson. I don't sugarcoat that. I don't hide that. I generally think his approach to government is the rule Missouri show me approach that I think is by far the best approach to government. We let the St. Louis people be governor for 17 months, and how the hell did that end? I do think though that, like anybody, if you agree with somebody all the time, I mean, hell, one of you is not needed. The suburban people be mad anyway. Folks in Texas County probably wasn't going to be mad. And Springfield probably had maybe a little bit more money in there than St. Charles.
Maybe a little bit.
They lost the Sabbath. I bet they're still taking out the same or more.
They're probably still doing well.
Yeah. So I get all that, and the question goes back to, should the Senate take up veto overrides?
At the end of the day, Governor Parson is the leader of the Republican Party here in the state of Missouri. And until August 24, when we choose the next candidate for governor, Governor Parson should remain at the top of the ticket, remain at the top of the party. And maybe this is just my approach to being a team player, a party player. You don't embarrass a fellow Republican like that.
I kind of have the same feeling. You know what I mean? I sort of feel the same way. Even though, look, do I think you should put the money back in the suburbs? Hell no. I mean, just, grind it up and use it to put in the bird pen. But, money for Texas County, damn, that's a little close to home. Money for a research farm, damn, I do think that I tend to think you're right. The House members do House member stuff. If they want to go off and rant and rave and want to put, money for whatever, I get House members doing House member stuff. They need attention. I get it. I always thought Hagan was always looked good when he would just smile in his way and say, well, gosh, we've never done that before. We're not going to do it here. That feels like the right play still.
Mm-hmm.
But if you were going to take a couple up, maybe that Texas County one, that farm one might be one you take up.
If you take them up, then you do the ones that truly are going to have an impact on, one, your number one industry in Missouri, agriculture.
Yeah.
We're going to support our farmers. And two, something that this governor is passionate about in infrastructure. Let's 4-lane Highway 63 from I-44 to US 60. And let's build out that corridor so we can drive jobs, so we can make sure that the dairy, the milk that comes from that dairy farm gets to the grocery store just 2 days faster.
I'm with you. I think it's probably a good idea to not go down that road. Because here's the thing. if you go down that road, you say, okay, we're gonna put the research farm money back in, and Senator Huff's, I'm sure the House probably would. Hell, I don't know, whatever. You could say they're researching food so women can't get abortions, maybe abortion unfriendly food or something. So the House would definitely be behind that. And then if Lincoln took that up, though, it's a tough game, right? Because if you're Senator Shore and you're out on a limb now for your folks, and I get it, I don't have any beef with Senator Shore except, well, you can't. Most of the stuff was not in his district. Most of the stuff was a little to the east.
A little to the east.
And then if you voted against 20, I think you lose a little bit of your credibility to stand up and say, but wait, this is a terrible bill, but my part should be in it. I get the argument, and it's one of those arguments that makes sense if you're having a beer somewhere, having dinner. But publicly, that's a tougher argument to make. Of I'm against the pork barrel spending, but just mine. Put mine over here, right?
Absolutely. Well, and the good news is for everyone, a surprise. There's going to be another budget next year. You got a year to try to convince the governor's office that your project was worthy enough to do it all again next year.
Do you think Senator Eigel is going to spend that year educating the governor about important projects in St. Charles County?
I think Senator Eigel is going to continue to be Senator Eigel. And,
yes, and I don't think he's going to spend a year using his time to convince Mike Parson that he should have the water plant in St. Charles. But I could be wrong.
If Senator Eigel gets what he wants and becomes governor, then he gets a water plant in St. Charles no matter what. So he's going about his strategy
the
both
William
ways.
Eigel water facility. I tell you what, the guy that does deserve something that people don't, that gets overlooked is Phil Crispinelli. That guy got in the trenches and fought for that money. And the person I hate, I don't know that Senator Eigel's torn up today. I mean, I think he probably can have a point to argue maybe. But Phil's a serious guy. Worked very hard to get that money there. You'd like to see, if nothing else, you'd like to see it just for him, because he really did go to work and go to bat and try to pull that out. So yeah, we'll see. I'm interested to see. Give me a prediction. Not that you've done any talking to anybody. Do they go take up vetoes on the Senate?
In the Senate, no.
House
might, Senate won't.
Yeah. I feel that way because what do you do? I mean, if you're at this point, if you're Nick Shore, I don't think you can allow Texas County's highway money to get overridden and not get yours too.
And where does that stop? Do we just go through all 500 million and we overturn everything? I don't think that's what we do.
I don't think there's 18 votes to overturn a veto for St. Charles County.
No.
So it's a double. If you go to those overrides, I think Senator Eigel kind of knows how to handle this, right? You put Senator Shore, who's a freshman senator who had a good year, in a tough spot if you go to any overrides, because how do you not go to the ones he's been complaining about? And then, frankly, I believe if you went to the Texas County highway override, what do you get? You get 25 votes, 26, something like that, right? If you go to the research farm, you get 25, 26 votes to override it. If you go to St. Charles County, just spending $1 there right now, you get 7, 8. Maybe on Nick's personal credibility, you get to 10. I don't think you get to 15.
I think you're probably right in that count.
Now you might. That's the kind of thing where special sessions and veto sessions are rare. If you're Nick Shore and this is a vote in March, people are like, well, I don't want to take him off. He's got another 8 weeks to go. I'll just vote for it, or I'll make a problem. But if it's a veto session, you go, well, he's got 3 months to get over this. I'm just going to not vote or vote no or whatever. And I'm pessimistic that he could pull that they could pull 18 votes for a St. Charles County spending bill. I just think there'd be too many people think it was too rich that voting against the bill then want to. I don't know. I feel like that could be interesting to me.
I think you're right.
Let's go and talk about some Senate. Let's start with the U.S. Senate. I mean, Quentin Lucas now maybe running. So you got the guy that can raise money from here in Jeff City, now he lives in Independence. Then in Kuntz. Then you've got Wesley Bell gets in. Carla May discussing getting in. I went back to this. I mean, like we talked about this a bit last week. What an awesome debate would be Josh Hawley and Carla May. Like, what an awesome debate. And you could have the head of the Federalist Society moderate this debate. I don't think it would matter. I don't really watch every debate, but I would actually want to be alone and watch Carla May and Josh Hawley. Josh Hawley, tremendous debater. The dude's so smart. I mean, if you're around him personally, if you hear him speak, the guy's a highly intelligent dude, right? Carla May is highly intelligent. but I'm gonna bet you Carla May can quote more scripture.
So let's play that out. We have
You feel me?
a debate with Senator May and Senator Hawley. Senator Hawley's getting ready for the debate. Who do you choose as debate Brett to play Senator May?
That he actually knows in this life, I have no idea. I don't know that he knows anybody that can play Carla May.
That's just as much of a trick as that would be. I think Senator May would have a fun time on the debate stage.
Well, I mean, listen, the way this shakes out, right? Josh Hawley does have some folks that hate him. I think, and part of that's by his own design. I don't think he's particularly put off by the fact that he's hated by certain groups. Carla May's used to dealing with that. She understands the push off and the fake outrage and all that. She deals with that for 5 months a year every day. What I think he might find is when she gets rolling, starts quoting scriptures, what are you gonna do? Nothing. You feel me? You're doing nothing. And that moderator, I don't care who you get, that poor guy, lady, whoever it is, man. So anyhow, I don't. Quentin Lucas is a tremendous campaigner. I mean, just 10 on 10. I mean, when you're in a room with Quentin Lucas, he's a guy that's got energy. I mean, it's whatever he can walk into a room. Reminds me of John Calipari. I was in a room with John Calipari once. He went to Boston and kind of looked out with the Celtics. Mm-hmm. He came back and coached Memphis. And I was at this golf thing, and I'm not a big college basketball fan, but I kind of, this guy walks in a room, I'm like, okay, somebody's important, right? I don't know who that is exactly. Yeah, I don't know exactly who that is, but I know that guy's a big deal. Mm-hmm. And I got to ask, and quick, John Calipari, coach of Memphis, he used to coach, he used to coach somewhere else. This is before he went to Kentucky. Mm-hmm. And you just knew, and Quentin Lucas kind of got that too. He's just that guy that you kind of know, okay, big deals in the room. It's a big guy. Mm-hmm. So let's walk around some of these state senators. But first, I want to talk about this. My buddy Billy, building buddy and politics buddy, gave me these. I mean, these are Viagra from Missouri. These are old school buttons. Look at this. We got Democrats love a state fair deal. I like that. We got Symington one in here. Old senator, U.S. Senator Symington. Union, yes. A local 576. I'm not sure what UFCW that is. Bob Holden, this is State Treasurer Bob Holden button. I dig that. SEMO loves his legislators. Well, we do sometimes. Cameron Parker's helping with that. Rodney Smith, I don't know if that's kin to Rodney Boyd. We have to see. Let me just see it. My buddy Billy hooked me up here. This is great stuff. Little Say No, Children Deserve a Future. Love this. What is this? I don't love SF. Billy, what the hell, man? What are you trying to say here? This is a great one. This is who the hell? This is the button says, who the hell is John McAllister, Lieutenant Governor, Missouri 76? That's not a bad one. If you saw that at Lincoln, you'd be like, well, who the hell is John McAllister, right? Thank you again, Bill. I really appreciate it. We will have, I'm not exactly sure we're going to display these. We're going to get a little creative, but we will get there. And thank you very much. Let's talk about some state senate races. Probably the top state senate race comes to my mind. You got the race to replace Senator Hoskins. Mm-hmm. Kind of goes to Clay County out to rural Missouri. You've got Curtis Gregory, former Mizzou player, farmer. Doug Ritchie, pastor from the suburbs. Going to be interesting. To me, it just kind of depends on, if they both get 80-20 of their folks, probably, they win. More likely it's 70-30 of their folks, right? And the question is going to be how Doug Ritchie represents Ray County. He had a big kickoff. Mm-hmm. I saw that he's hired some right-wing folks to jump in for him. I saw, some Ray County folks. That was intriguing to me. See some Ray County people there. We think Ray County people would be the ones that want to support the farmer from rural Missouri. So that was a little interesting. That was an interesting wrinkle I noticed. When you really break that race down, I think it's going to depend on, can Curtis Gregory go over and get his 30% in Clay County?
And I don't think that will be a problem for Representative Gregory. He's done a fantastic job, and just a short time he's been here in the legislature. I think you cut the ad now of, I fought for and protected the Mizzou quarterback. I'm going to fight and protect the Missourians. I think the ad writes itself. He'll be a fantastic addition to the Senate if he does end up winning that Senate race. But Representative Ritchie has definitely got a lot of floor time and a lot of clips of him fighting for conservative issues that he's going to be able to play. And raise some money off of. It'll be a real race.
20 years ago, this would have been a race. But you have a very angry Republican primary electorate. And I don't know that they even give a damn what you're mad about. Just want to make sure you're mad too. I think a little bit of that Trump stuff. I mean, Donald Trump, I mean, you could say he's conservative, but I mean, do you really believe Donald Trump's pro-life? Do you? I mean, I think Donald Trump was angry, and you know, speak the language of someone that's angry. And Doug Ritchie is a very talented politician, has that ability as well. This would be a very close race. I think Representative Gregory probably has the advantage just on fundraising and some political talent. But this is not a. There are most races in life. I think you would see Gregory with an advantage. I think Doug Ritchie has an ability to speak to that real pissed off suburban guy and tell him he's pissed off too. And I think he probably has that play down better than Representative Gregory. And if you look back at some of these races, that's an important tool to have in the arsenal.
Well, and the thing about this Senate race is this is a completely new district. There's no part of the Senate district from 21 that's ever kind of been put together before. You've never seen Clay County split with sort of that I-70 corridor.
It's kind of Stouffer district, but it didn't have that much Clay County.
But so you don't have a race that you can base it off of and look at empirical examples and see kind of the roadmap of what you need to do, where you need to put your media buys. So this race is probably going to be one of those anomalies that maybe sets the trend for some of these other Senate districts that have part of the suburbs, but also go out into ag-heavy Missouri.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting thing. I mean, it'll be the test of, and really, if you break it down, there's more votes in the rural part of that. And it's one of those things where if you look up 10 years from now, your schools are closed and your implement dealership's going out of business. Well, you know, take it seriously. And rural people usually take it seriously. Will they take it seriously here? I don't know. You bounce around though. I mean, will be a huge race in southern Missouri. If Holly Rader runs for statewide office, as a lot of folks assume she probably will, big race. Very interested to see how that shakes out. You know, I think you have Jamie Berger's going to stick it and run for House leadership, but I mean, you've got Barry Hovis at Jackson. Everybody's Republican at Jackson. You have Rick Francis, great campaigner up in the northern part of the district. It's going to be very interesting to see how that shakes out. It used to go to where you believed that it used to be the type of thing where you would believe that if there was only one Cape County person, they would win. Senator Rader broke that trend. So good on her, right? I mean, I think can you replicate that? I don't know. Barry Hovis is going to be a person that's very hard to dislike if he runs. Rick Francis is a guy that's got a lot of ability to bring in and build his tent. Those two, you give I mean, back home it's about geography, right? So the geographical advantage definitely goes to the Cape County candidate if there's only one. If there's two, well, that changes a lot. And so if there's two candidates, Rick Francis come in there and swipe that. The problem is there's more votes in Scott County than there is in Perry County and Bollinger. So that'd be interesting to see how he can pull that off. But I mean, I think there's definitely are you from Cape or are you not? And the Cape County people feel that way too, and the other people feel that way. So there's cams, but if you have a couple not from Capes, I don't think they can win at all.
Well, and you got to be excited about your candidate too. I think that's something that Senator Thompson Rader really pulled into in her races. I think she galvanized her base probably better than any other Senate candidate did in that 2020 election.
Well, Kathy Swan, if you know Kathy and you like Kathy, one of the best people you ever know in your life.
Yep.
But she can throw an elbow. If you're on the other side of Kathy, Kathy can take a swing, right? So if that's the case, I think there's a real interesting play where there's a real interesting move there to be made that can they divide off like that? And one thing Barry Hovis is really not known as an elbow guy. So I almost think really we talk about center race, it may make it a little easier. There's probably no one he would chase off, right? They'd all be there. They want to be there. Look around. When you look around the state, there's several of these open seat primaries. You got the 15th to be interesting. David Gregory. You talk about a guy that's a political star. And David Gregory's a legitimate star in the making. I think he'll do extremely well on the ballot. And he's got Mark Carter running, well known.
Mark Carter, Jim Bolin as
Mayor of
well.
Wildwood's running. It's not often that the municipal candidates track the state senate. They have a great track record winning state house races, state senate races. Not a lengthy history if you go from municipal government to there, but apparently Jim Bolin's putting together a pretty good team. I'm hearing some rumors of other folks that are considering running, but I would just think the more people that run probably helps Gregory.
It definitely helps Gregory, and probably harder to an extent as well. When your name's been on the ballot that many times in West County, and people have seen your name over and over again, they're just going to go with the name they have seen the most times and voted for the most times. And so Harder and Gregory probably definitely have the advantage, and more people get in that race.
Break it down. Let's just skip to the end here. Senator Esslinger's on the ballot. We saw last cycle in Joplin. An incumbent beat in a Republican primary, something the world wasn't prepared for, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do you do to stave that off?
I think the most important thing, and I think this is something that Senator Esslinger does well, is you build on the relationships you already have. I think coming out of that 2022 legislative session, there was a lot of hurt feelings, a lot of anger, a lot of vitriol towards other Senate members, and that just hadn't occurred in the past. I think something that Senator Esslinger has done well is you might disagree with her on her position on certain issues, but no one's ever going to say, that she's doing it deliberately as a personal vendetta. And I think that's something that she's been great at, and I think she keeps those relationships and keeps that sort of record of being a fair dealer, no matter who you are, and you don't see an attack.
You think you may go without a serious primary challenge?
I don't know about that. We're talking about these races. We're still 7-8 months out from filing.
As of now, no one's announced.
No one's announced. People's feelings change every now and then. Heck, Senator Esslinger might want to go back to the House of Representatives. She still has 6 years left there. Don't think it's going to happen.
Take a Stein and prediction here and say that's not going to happen. I am going to make you a couple predictions, though. United Fiber is some of the best folks around. Jim Badger runs a great operation up there. They know how to get it done. Look, I got one question to ask you. If you're coming to Jeff City, you may be interim committee hearing, right? Maybe you're coming in for the fair. Maybe you're just coming in to check the place out. And someone says, well, hey, why don't we just meet at my hotel and have breakfast? What hotel do you want to tell them you're meeting at?
Oh, I'm telling them Courtyard by Marriott.
Well, yeah, Courtyard by Marriott. I mean, just look, don't embarrass yourself. Be smart. If you're coming to Jeff City, first of all, plan your stuff. Plan your stuff. Come in, send me a button. Come see the collection here. Whatever you do, but do not. I'm telling you, just for your own sake, just for your own, just for humanity. Don't tell people you're staying somewhere else. You just look very JV. Like if you're, let's say, an economic development director for a city, and you're coming up here to ask for a project, you're like, oh, meet me at the Hampton Inn. No, you don't say that. Just don't. That's a bad call. You're not. The chance of you succeeding plummet incredibly. Say, I'm in the Courtyard, and they'll be like, oh, this guy knows what's up. Oh, we got a guy who knows what's up here. Do yourself a favor. Courtyard by Marriott, State Fair, for veto session. Get in early. Last week we announced it. The roast, the absolute greatest roast of all time. Dan Houts, Jeff Knight, the Bert and Ernie of the Missouri House of Representatives are going to do an outstanding job. And one more shout out I've got. No show this week. We do a 2-week break in the off session. I just forgot and shaved. I didn't really have to. Ben Peters, new house comms person, do a great job. Knows the building. He has a passion for it. That's what I like about him. He really has a passion for the house. Then give me a shout out to somebody this summer's had a good summer.
Someone that's had a good summer. It's always the easy cop out to say your boss, who's definitely Senator Esslinger.
But she's got a good reason.
She's spending a lot of time home with the new grandbaby. That last Wednesday of session, she leaves, goes down to her daughter's the birth of her new grandchild, up to work the next day. So she definitely deserves to spend some time with that grandbaby. You talk about people who had a good summer. Governor Parsons' staff getting placed in all the right positions, doing all the right things. They're going to finish strong with another year.
I'm not going to say that if I'm not going to say that if Kayla Hahn was still there, the farm wouldn't have got screwed up or the highway. I'm just saying that, she wasn't there and rural money got withheld. You draw the connection. I don't know. I mean, some could say that if we'd have had a technical breakdown of those bills and the real benefits to rural Missouri that Texas, maybe it goes differently. I don't know.
That's Shannon County knowledge.
Yeah, I don't have a crystal ball, but I'm just saying maybe, right? If somebody that's drove that road a few times, I feel better about the chances. I mean, look, Kayla, we're not dumping it all on you, but I mean, maybe a little bit, right? Anyway, hey, thanks a lot, buddy. Appreciate the time.
Absolutely.
Kelton, thank you, bud. And we will see you in back here a week from now. This week's Missouri Products